Okay, now we're on Daf Yutes Omid Beis. V'yomer Rav Sheshes Breder Rav Idi Shma Mino Mid Rav Kahana Eidim Cha'omru Amona Hoyitvarenu Ein Nemona. My timer came of the Avlu who are Avlu Lo Chasm. Again, we go back to the principle of Ein Odom Meisim Atzmo Rosh. If the Eidim testify about this star, that it was a star Amona, and they attach their signatures to a star, which is now going to be given over from the lover to the malva without any intention of the lover getting money, receiving a loan down the line, but not now. And this is called an avla because the Torah prohibits the malva from holding on to a star amona. Now the Eidim are saying, well, we were part of this whole enterprise of creating a star amona. They're making themselves into a child. They should never have signed on a star amona. The same pasuk of avla is going to apply to a star parua. When the malva gets his money back from the lover, when the lover returns the loan, the malva at that point has to hand over the star over to the lover. If the malva fails to do so, and he retains possession over the star, he's holding on to an avla. He's violating the Isur of Al Tishko B'Olech Avla because he may inadvertently find this star up in his attic amongst all the documents, and lo and behold, he sees, wait a minute, so I extended a loan to so-and-so. He doesn't remember that so-and-so paid him back. The Rav Mishmei the Rav Amri in Eretz Yisrael, they had another interpretation of this pasuk. In the name of Rav, Im Oven. No, I'm sorry. Not another interpretation of the same pasuk of Al Tishkon B'Olecha Avla, but rather from a different pasuk. Im Oven B'Yodcha Hachikeu. Oven here is what we call a Dvar Avera. And if somebody's holding on to something which is a Dvar Avera, Achiku means get rid of it. And so it's an avera to write a star amona, and it's an avera to hold on to a star amona. V'chein star pas. Now this concept of star pasim is a very interesting sociological phenomenon. Back in the day, and it's probably true even today, people like to show themselves as if they were wealthy. If a person holds on to a star, and the star says that so-and-so owes him a substantial sum of money, he presents himself as a rich guy. So let's give an example. There's Reuven and Shimon. Reuven wants to be Mephaye Shimon. Maybe Reuven wronged Shimon, and now he wants to be good with him. And Shimon says to him, you know what? Do me a favor. Write me a star with 2 Eidim signed on it that you owe me $1 million. And that's going to be part of the friendship. So Shimon is now holding on to a star, and Reuven never borrowed $1 million. So the star is a false star. That's called a star paisim or pasim. He writes here, Unichtav al dvar sheker. Shemafaya says, Chaverushu ovo mamino. He tries to show, after Reuven, let's say, wronged Shimon, oh, I love you and I'd do anything for you. Make up this whole star, which is a whole fabrication, in order to give me a star that shows Kilu, I'm a millionaire. And this is derived from Al Tishko B'Olecha Avla Zeshtar Pasim Oh, I'm sorry. So the second pasuk now that we're quoting him, Oven, B'yodchar Chikeu is a star, Amona and a star pasim, which are almost identical. And now what are we going to do with the original pasuk? Al tishko b'olecha avla zeh star parua. So this is the third star which you're not allowed to hold on to. The love already paid you back. You're not allowed to hold and retain possession of the star. So the Gemara now analyzes these cases of shtaros that you shouldn't be holding on to. Man diyomer star parua kol shkein star amana. If star parua is asur, you're not allowed to hold on to it. How much more so you're not allowed to hold on to a star amana? And the Gemara is going to try to explain why. Uman diyomer, according to Rav Kahana, he said that the pasuk is telling you you're not allowed to hold on to a star amana. Al star parua lo. In the case of a star parua, there's a very good reason to justify why the malva wants to hold on to that star. The zimin, the mashile, apshite, the safra. Let's explain. The love writes a star to the malva, meaning he commissions two Eidim to write a star that he borrowed money from Lamazug from Reuven. Now, who has to pay for the star? What's called pshiti the safre. Who has to pay the wages to the scribe who is writing the star? And offhand, you might say it's the malva, because he's the one who's going to get the star. He's going to hold on to the star, and he's going to use it as proof and against the love. No, the love is chayiv to pay the writing of the star. Why? Because he's the one who wants to borrow money, and nobody's going to lend him a dime unless he writes a star. So he commissions two Eidim to write the star, but he has no money to pay the Eidim, which is not shocking to us because he's a lover who's borrowing money. He's very tight on funds. So the malva will extend himself financially and pay the pshite the safra on the assumption that the lover will pay him back and reimburse him for the money he's paying for the sofa, because really it's the lover who has to pay for the writing of the star. So therefore, when the lover pays back the loan, the malva says to the lover, you know what? In addition to the loan, I want you to reimburse me for Pshiti and Safri. I paid for the writing. I financed the writing of the star. The lover says, I can't pay you. So the malva says, okay, I'm going to retain ownership over the star, even though it's a star parua, and I'm going to wait until you, the lover, have enough funds to pay me for the Pshiti and Safri. It's almost like security. Do you know what I mean by security? Like, for example, like your wife is a real estate agent, so she'll probably has this all the time. Somebody wants to rent an apartment, but the renter, the owner of the apartment, is afraid of damages, and it's almost inevitable. So they take a check, like a picadon, in lieu of damages. Here also, the malva is going to hold on to the star as a kind of collateral to guarantee that the lover is going to reimburse him for pshiti the saf. Because the malva is going to say, I'm going to hold on to the star. The lover is not happy about it. He doesn't want the malva holding on to the star. He wants to get the star back. He paid up the chol. The malva is going to say, no, I refuse. I'm going to hold on to the star. It's like, I have you by the gergel. You better pay back the pshiti the safre, otherwise I'm not going to give you back the star. Itmar, Sefer Torah, he says, Nevi'im uksuvim. All this is based on Rashi. She'ena muger. So the halacha is that after a sofer writes any of Kisvei HaKodesh, Torah, Nevi'im, or Ksuvim, we need what's called a Haggah. Somebody has to meticulously review the Sefer, go over the Sefer inside, and determine where there might be mistakes. Like, let's say a letter is missing or he added a letter. So basically, the halacha is that even though the sefer was written by a reliable sofer, it has a chazaka that it might have toyos, might have mistakes in it, or it does have mistakes in it. So in order to remove that chazaka, you must have Haggah, Mugeh. I just tell you a story on the side. The Chafetz Chaim Zichrono Livracha, when he sold his Mishnah Brura, he was aware of the fact that very often there were what we call toyos defus, in the printing there were mistakes. And he personally would not give out or sell a Mishnah Brura until he went over it and guaranteed that there were no mistakes. And then, with his own pen, on the inside cover, there's like an extra page there, not the shar, but he would write Mugeh, Mem Vav Gimel He. When I used to be into Sfarim, now I'm not, but I was aware of the fact that if you got a Mishnah Brura with the word Mugeh written on it, which means the Chafetz Chaim wrote it, it costs you $100. Today, I don't know, maybe it's twice that amount. I don't know. They're rare. You're allowed to hold on to such a Sefer Torah to Mugeh for 30 days. We'll give you a little bit of an allotment of time until you can get around to pay someone to do the Haggah. You're not allowed to even hold on to the Sefer. Today they make it, they put the gartel around it, the whole. Because we're afraid that somebody might think it's a good coach to say for Torah and use the Sefer Rav Nachman. If they claim that the mocher, the seller, was forced to have the shtar written under duress, they threatened to kill him, and the Edom wrote and signed the shtar as if there was a sale when there really was no sale. And this is what the Edom are claiming, Enam Nemanim. We can't believe them. Not sure how this might be different than Anusim. Anyway, my Ravashi Omar, he disagrees. Hamanu Yizveinu Nemanim. That's certainly an avla, but Modah Yizveinu Nemanim. Nighttime. Oh boy, so much dust. Excuse me. High nitan likaseh, high low nitan likaseh. There's no leniency, no license, and permission to write a shtar amon. It's just completely prohibited. But a shtar moda, which is written in order to save the mocher's skin, because otherwise he's going to have his head handed in, that the Edom are permitted, for the sake of saving a nefesh, to write a shtar moda. I don't understand the sheet of Rav Nachman, but anyway. What's the deal if the Edom who testified and signed the shtar mecher And now they come to Beis Din and they said, wait a minute. We forgot to mention, and it was not written in the shtar, that the mocher only agreed to sell his property if the following condition would be met. And the mocher is claiming that the lokeach did not fulfill that condition. So the Gemara now Rava vacillates as to whether or not Tnai Hayu Dvarenu is the same as, let's say, Shtar Almana. And here's the way the Gemara analyzes the two study. Modav Almana, he's going now according to the Shita of Rav Nachman, that even a claim of Modah is not accepted. They aren't believed. And certainly not on Amon. And the shtar is not worth a piece of paper if it's a Modah, if it's an Amana, and even if it's a Tanai, because the Lova apparently, or the Lokeach did not fulfill the Tanai. So the mecher is batul uvuta. Oh, Dilma, what should we say? No, Tanai miltzach riti. The mecher is a mecher, and the Tanai is a separate story. It means that the Tanai is coming to be mavatal the mecher, but the mecher itself, in and of itself, is a valid mecher. So when the Eidim tell a story about Tanai, they're not undermining their original Eidus in the shtar. There was a mecher. But they're talking about something that's zaitig, it's external, it's outside of the mecher. It's a Tanai milsach riti. So when the Eidim say Amana or Modah, then they're makchishim es hashtar. Right? They deny that there was ever halva, there was ever a sale. But here in Tanai, they are admitting and testifying that there was halva, there was a mecher, just that now they want to add it to not. Amalei, Rav Nachman responds to Rava ki asul kame the commanded dina. When, let's say, a buyer purchased the land, and he comes in front of us with edim that are signed, attesting that there was a mecher, Amridalu zilu kamchu tanayayu v'chusaladina. We tell them so again, what happened here? The Eidim signed on a shtar mecher, and they say Tnai hayu dvarim. So we tell the lokeach, go ahead and fulfill the Tanai, and then Chusul Adina, then come back to us, and we'll judge the case. In other words, Rav Nachman holds that Tanai milsach riti, and therefore the Eidim are believed to testify about a Tanai. So therefore they're going to turn to the lokeach and say, buddy, first go ahead and fulfill the Tanai. Now, what happens if you have two witnesses signed on a shtar, and only one of them claims that there was a Tanai in the mech? Eid Omer Tanai, the Eid Omer Eino Tanai. So it looks like we have a hakchasha between the two Eidim. Rav Papa says, let's take the lowest common denominator that's agreed upon between the two Eidim, and let's see what we can make a big deal about that. Travayu bishtar ma'al Yaakov Hadik. Both of them admit that the transaction took place. Bahai, and this one aid, the Ka'amri Tanai, Havile Chad, is a Yachid, the Ein Dvar Shal Echad, B'Makom Shnayim. Now, this is really a strange Gemara. What do you mean, Ein Dvar Shal Echad B'Makom Shnayim? I mean, there are only two Eidim. And now you're telling me the Eid is contradicting two Eidim. What do you mean he's contradicting two Eidim? He is the one of the two Eidim, and he says that it was a Tanai. I think the answer to this question is Reish Lakish's principle of Eidem Achsuma Shtar Nasa Kavichan Echrei Dusam Bebez. And that means that Bezdin will certify and validate the Shtar. And now we have Eidus without a Tanai. So it's very interesting. It's almost like a schizophrenic here. You know, he sits on the Shtar, and he sits in front of Bezdin and testifies against himself because he signed on the Shtar. So that's called Echad B'Makom Shtar. Maskif La Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. Ihachi, if you're going to say that if one of the two witnesses signed on the Shtar claims Tanai Hayu Dvarenu, and it's considered as if he's testifying against the two Eidim who are signed on the Shtar, is Afilu Travayu Nami. Logically, you should go one step further. Even if the two Eidim on the Shtar claim there was a Tanai, they're going against the Shtar. Because the Shtar doesn't mention anything about a Tanai. And Rashi here, as explained by the Ritva, says, when the two Eidim are testifying about their own Shtar, that it was a Tanai, we cannot accept their Eidus because the Shtar itself is considered like two Eidim, that there was no Tanai. Ella, we have no choice but to say that the reason why two Eidim who say Tanai Hayid Varenu not believe the Amrinon Hani Limi Ekar Sadusayu Kaasu. Okay, now we have to figure out what does the Gemara mean. Hani lemi ekar sadaisu kaosi. So he has here a shtickle par again from the Ritva that introduces the concept of toch kidei dibur. And if I understand correctly, the Eidim that are signed in the Shtar are now standing in front of Bezdin. They have two things to tell us. First of all, they tell us, yeah, we signed on the Shtar. And then they say, but it was a Tanai. Now, in doing so, they are basically oker. They are undermining and contradicting the Shtar itself. The Shtar indicates that there was no Tanai. And what we're going to do is we're going to integrate into one whole their testimony about the shtar, which is Kiyum HaShtar, and the Tanai. It becomes one Edus, because it was Tokidei Dibur. Now, there's no other way that we can be Mekayim the shtar except for their testimony. And therefore, we're going to believe them when they tell us that the mocher added a condition to the sale. And we're going to add that this is not like Modah and Omana, where they're Oker Legamri as they do so, Haksu B'shtar, but rather T'nai Milsach Ripehi. So the Eidim are not being Oker Legamri, they're Eidim. They're just saying, okay, there was a Mecher, and the shtar is testifying correctly about the accurately about the Mecher, but there was a T'nai. So when they're Makayim the shtar, in effect, they're really activating the Eidos of the shtar, because without Kiyum, it's not valid. And when they activate the Eidos of the shtar, anything that they add Tokidei Dibur, as long as they're not Oker, their original Eidos, is considered part of the Eidos. So they're Makayim the shtar, and they add that what was omitted from the shtar, but was only discussed orally, was a Tanai. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. If that's the way it works, in the case of two Eidim, then the same logic should apply if there's only one Eid. Meaning the one Eid who testifies about a Tanai. Hani nami leme eker saduse kod. The Erechad, as long as it's Tokidei Dibur the Kiyum, is continuing his Eidus, and he's undermining his original Eidus that he signed on the shtar without a Tanai, and he's saying, no, there was a Tanai in the Mecha. And again, since that one Eid is absolutely critical to be Mekayim the shtar. Without him, there's no way we can be Mekayim the shtar. Then he is continuing his Eidus, Tokidei Dibur, when he adds it tonight. And why is that? Because he's not undermining, like in the cases of Amona and Modah, the shtar itself. The shtar is correct. So in the footnote here, he adds something important. He says that Eidus Zuchet Tnai Hoyut Varenu Ba'a Kehemshech L'Divrei HaEidim HaMakayim HaShtar V'Eina Eidus Nifredes. There's no Kevin Shehigit over here because he's still telling the story. Tokidei Dibur the Kiyum is considered an extension of the original Eidus. So again, let's just go over this. According to our Papa, when 1:8 says T'nai, we can't believe him. We have to throw him out of court because he's Echad against Shnai. According to Rav Huna, we will believe the aid because he never completed his Eidus. He was coming to Mekayim the shtar, and now Tokidei Dibur, he says there was a T'nai. So this shtar cannot stand on its own without the addition of the T'nai, because there are only two Eidim with signed on the shtar. One of them says T'nai. And the Gemara concludes, V'hilchas Rav Huna b'rei Rabbi Yeshua. We accept the second opinion that even an Eid Echad of the two Eidim sign the star is believed to say T'nai Hayid Varenu, because we cannot be Mekayim the star without him. So his Eidus continues, and now he's adding the T'nai. Okay, let's see if we can extend it if you have another 2 minutes. So the Eidei Ashtar have died. We know that this is an authentic shtar. There was no counterfeit, and these are their signatures. Once again, we go through the same logic as the Mishnah Pesha Pesha, because since we cannot be Mekayim the shtar without them, then they're believed to tell us that the shtar is invalid. But v'im yesh edim sheksav yodam hu zeh. Oh, shaya ksav yodam yotzim makom acher mishtar shekara v'iru b'bezdin. It's ein elu ne'emanim. The shtar is mekuyam because we can compare the signatures to other signatures. Or we have a shtar that has their signatures, and that shtar is mekuyam. Ein elu ne'emanim. The shtar is kosher. Now, this is very odd. What do you mean the shtar is kosher? You have two Eidim who are testifying that the shtar is possible. And even if you'll assume that the shtar speaks for itself and is machshir itself, it's trey, it's 2 against 2. So how can you tell me the shtar is kosher? How can you validate the shtar? And now the Malva is going to collect $1 million from the Lova when there are 2 Eidim against the 2 Eidim. The shtar were testifying that the shtar is possible. Rav Sheshes also meres hakosha tchilas hazama. And on Daf Chav, kishem she'ein mazim es ha'edim el b'fneihem, kach ein makchishin es ha'edim el b'fneihem. When they contradict the shtar, they are basically passing the edus of the shtar like hazama, and it's a process of hazama. Now, when there's a process of hazama, and 2 Eidim are going to say to 2 Eidim, well, you lied, you perjured yourself, and you weren't there, you were with us elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. They have to be there at the time of the Hazama. Why? Because we have a principle of Ein Me'idin al Bal Davar el B'fana. So Hazama requires Bifnei Ha'edim. Is now we should assume Kach Ein Makchishin es Ha'edim el B'fneihem. Now, what do you mean B'fneihem? The 2 Eidim signed on the shtar are already gone. He says, "Kevan Eidim achsum al shtar mesu, the Eidim yichol level at bezdin until after Tchias HaMesim, right? So when now these 2 Eidim are coming in and passing the shtar by saying anusim hayu ktanim hayu psuli edus hayu, it's not a valid edus. We cannot accept their edus because they're saying something about the Eidim, and the Eidim are gone. They want to passel the shtar, but by doing what? By testifying against the Eidim HaShtar. They can't do that because they already gone. All right, so let's make a note of where we got up to here. On Daf Chaf Amud Aleph, Amar Rav Nachman. Okay then, thank you very much. Have a great Shabbos. So, Mitzvah Sunday, we'll talk about 8 a.m. Yeah, if that works.